Beginning of day 2, I'm with Filippo at Paoletti Guitars. How the devil are you?
Thank you, all good, thank you.
My wife, I think, discovered you guys. And you make absolutely beautiful looking guitars. So you make these in Italy?
Yeah, we are located in Tuscany, actually.
Beautiful.
Very close to Florence, where we produce our guitars and components on them. See,
wonderful.
If you want to come closer,
yeah,
I'll show you
please,
them.
tell us more. They're beautiful.
Every single Paoletti guitars is handcrafted in Tuscany, including bridges, pickups, pickguards, and the hardware related to the guitar. So we have a team of artisans headed by Mr. Paoletti himself that will join us very soon,
Great.
in the next couple of days. Every single guitar is a custom-made instrument, and
that does make you unique, though, the fact that you're building all of the hardware yourself as well.
right.
Yeah.
So every guitar we have in production is produced specifically for the customer.
Oh, beautiful.
And as we have a line of guitar that is called the Wine Series, as the beginning of our company, because our guitars are made out of chestnut, coming from old wine barrels.
Oh, wow.
That's the origin of our chestnut. And you can see that into the Wine Series here, that the grain of chestnut wood, the aged chestnut wood, that is about 80 to 150 year old.
Wow. It's
in
gorgeous,
the wine
and I
series.
love thin lines.
Thin line is the new of NAMM show for us. It's the first time at NAMM for this kind of concept on this style shaped guitar.
This is gorgeous looking. This is right up my alley. Oh, it's quite light.
Yeah, that's because it's a semi-hollow body structure.
But it looks, because it's got like a huge grain, I was expecting this even hollow to have some weight to it. That's gorgeous. So, pickups, you wind yourself, you create yourself?
We do single coil pickups and humbucker style pickups, P90s. They are all unwound in the company. And they are specifically designed on chestnut.
Right.
Because over the years, since it was the wood that we were using since the very beginning, then over the year, we managed how to master chestnut with our pickups. Oh, these are real shotgun shells.
I was about to say, are they shotgun shells? Yeah.
They're the kind of trademark for Paoletti guitars since the beginning.
Wonderful.
And so we take the real ones, we cut the plastic, and we fit as a knob.
Amazing. Ah, it's gorgeous.
For our necks, we choose maple that comes from Canada, and we do the roasting process in Tuscany.
Lovely. I do like the roasted necks, I think they look beautiful.
Yeah,
I also like the fact it's not a high gloss.
Not a high gloss is one of our key points, because as you see, even if we have 5 layers of colors over here, you have still the possibility of feeling the grain of chestnut, like the Wine Series.
Amazing. Can I hear one? Is there an amp?
Yeah.
Let's hear something. Oh, you have your own amps too? It's gorgeous. Oh, wow. This is gorgeous, yeah. Is that coil tappable or?
Oh yeah, on some model we have that option.
Oh, you have it? Okay.
Yeah, it's a free feature that we have.
I love this because it's like a burnt sunburst burnt. It's absolutely gorgeous. How do you get this kind of finish?
We start from the sunburst actually.
Right.
So right after the wine stage, when we have this kind of brownish color, we do apply the sunburst and then a color over it.
Yep.
And then we do the relic process.
It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
So these are
seeing them on the website, they look beautiful on the website, but they don't do it justice. When you come and see them in real life, they're absolutely gorgeous.
Let me show you this one. This guitar, because as a company, we are really after the planet as well.
Yeah.
So this guitar is a completely plastic-free guitar. Then
Oh,
you have,
plastic-free, okay.
walnut pickups, olive wood dots from
Yeah.
Tuscany, and a wooden walnut tip switch.
Gorgeous. Oh, yeah.
Chestnut is kind of famous for its sustain.
Yeah.
And that's why it's been chosen by artists like Richard Fortes from Guns N' Roses, Richie Sambora from Bon Jovi, and many others.
It's really beautiful.
Do you like the feeling of the neck?
I do, yeah. I've always loved a kind of a matte silk kind of finish. It's also got just enough neck, makes you want to, you know. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Yeah, works of art.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, they really. My wife kind of sent me the link and said, "Oh, you've got to look at these because everything is sort of much of a muchness these days, and these really do jump out as being really special." And I didn't know all the extra details that you went into. I love the shotgun shells here. Wonderful. So every single time somebody orders one of these, they spec it out. They ask specifically for stuff, or you make suggestions, or
no,
whatever.
we help the customer creating
Right.
their own guitar from the very beginning, selecting the body shape,
Great.
selecting the kind of guitar they want. If they want a kind of solid body or semi-hollow, depending on the music they play, we help them in the selection of the fretboard that makes a difference. So with chestnut wood, we found that a good match could be Pau Ferro, like this guitar, or ebony, or just maple. And then we also help them in selecting the best pickups. As we unwound them, it's easy to help the customer in finding the best configuration. Some of the new guitars at NAMM this year, also this kind of LP style guitar.
Oh yeah.
This is one of the latest model we made for John Norum from the band Europe,
Right.
with a 2 Paoletti noiseless P90 and an ABM bridge with our 3+3 headstock. So it's the second kind of headstock that we have in the line.
That's nice. I love the look of that because that's quite unique. Like an offset SG, but not quite. It's nice. Yeah.
And look at the back of these.
Oh, gorgeous. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
And
Bass
we do
as well?
Bass as well. Very limited run respect to the guitar, but another cool feature that we have is that every single Paoletti can be manufactured as a lefty,
Lovely.
and there
That's
is
good.
no upcharge for that.
No upcharge is great. I
No.
appreciate this. This.
That's an anniversary model we made with
Yeah.
our distributor.
Oh. Oh, I need to hear this. Can you plug this in? Oh, this is gorgeous. How much is this?
Yeah,
How much is this?
this goes for
This one.
oh that one.
Yeah.
Well, we might have to ask the distributor, but these guitars are like are gonna be a limited edition.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be announced probably after the NAMM show. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Oh. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I love this. That's a real work of art there.
That's a new model, so we're
Yeah.
probably gonna do more this year in all other finishes that we offer.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. All right, I've got to try one last thing, the thin line. I've never played a telly with a whammy bar on it before. Yeah, this is gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did you guys making both these pickups?
Yeah, the Humbucker style and the P90.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
We do.
Yeah. I keep saying gorgeous, but I mean it. This is, look at this, Eric. So presumably this all brass, yes?
Brass that we cut from the brass sheet, from a big brass sheet. We cut the components.
Yeah.
And the fact that we manufacture every component in-house allow us to ship a custom guitar in less than 2 months.
Less than 2 months. It's amazing.
Yeah, about 7 weeks from the order.
Gorgeous. How much is this?
This goes for $4,395.
$395?
$4,395.
Oh, okay, $4,395. And tell me about the amps.
Oh, the amplifiers is kind of a test for us. So something new that we are testing, not in production yet. They were in the past, but then we decided to stand by a bit because the amplifier is still something that you need to take really care of. But to make this, we manufacture them out of chestnut wood, exactly like the guitar, starting from chestnut wood blanks and Italian leather. So this leather comes from Tuscany.
Oh, look.
Oh, that's another semi-hollow guitar.
Oh, yeah. Love the curve.
We also manufacture our own Brixby style bridge in Tuscany.
It's so unique. So I'm saying we haven't seen anything this unique in a long time, so that's why we had to come by. Incredibly unique. Yeah. I think if you're into like classic cars, you want one of these.
You know what? This guitar is named 500, like the Italian car.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Good job. Wonderful. Thank you, Felipe. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. Really appreciate it.
So we're big, we're bad, we're back. We're almost dressed in black. With Adam Steele, of course. The man of steel himself. At Audient with the new Aurea. And what's interesting, we did actually film a full breakdown of Aurea, and it will be coming out probably a couple of days after this. But regardless, let's do a quick breakdown on what is so wonderful about this. And
Absolutely.
It is really, really cool.
Yeah, this is our baby. This is Aurea, and this is brand new. This is our, we say it's the world's first immersive audio interface and monitor controller that is very much designed to be used in an Atmos setup. Easy, simple, and powerful.
With mic pre's.
2 mic pre's on it, and it also comes with the Sound ID reference microphone in the box. Why? Because you can use that to measure and then send that straight through to be stored on Aurea's hardware. It's got an 8-band EQ, it's got bass management, it's got time delay, it's got all the stuff you would need for calibrating and processing for when you've got up to 16 speakers and your room's not perfect, because no room is perfect. not when you're throwing speakers all around you. And it makes it sound good, makes it easy, and means that you're not thinking about it when you're trying to think about mixing in a 3D space, which is already quite taxing.
And it's about $2,500?
That's right.
So it's also half the price of its next competitor.
Absolutely.
Pretty awesome.
So we put in all the things you needed.
Does more and costs less.
Didn't put in all the things you don't need.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, and the connectability on the back is pretty insane as well, isn't it?
It is. So there are 16 analog outs for the immersive. There are also 2 more stereo outputs, which are relay switched. So if you've got more speakers that you like to mix on stereo with, you don't have to remove them. You don't have to have a complicated workaround. You press a button, there they are. And if you've got calibration for those 2, it switches that as well with our profiles. Easy.
Really, really cool. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you very much.
How the devil are you, Ivan?
Good to see you, Warren. Awesome, buddy.
This is great. So we've only done one guitar thing so far. That's probably all we're going to do unless something else takes our fancy.
All right.
But I was like, why not do straps?
Let's do it.
So you've got one heck of a display. I'm sure Eric can get a pan down here. I mean, this is basically, I think this is the most amount of straps I have ever seen in my entire life.
Right.
Absolutely beautiful. Franklin, are they made in Franklin, Tennessee?
We are. We're
Yes,
in Franklin,
I
Tennessee.
guess.
American made, everything sourced in America, everything made in
wonderful.
America.
God, I really would have been a fool if you said, heck no.
No, this is made in China.
No, it's great. So, all made in Franklin, Tennessee. Beautiful. Oh, this is really gorgeous.
Well, we call them the soft strap for a reason.
Yeah. Oh, it's gorgeous. How long has the company been going?
Quite a while. It was actually started by Greg Bennett.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
And when Greg passed away a few years ago,
What year did he start it?
oh my gosh, hey, Greg. Greg,
Yes, sir.
What
when
year
did
the company start?
Franklin start?
In the early to mid 90s.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought. It's like 92, 93,
Yeah,
was that right?
I might have had one. I feel like I had a red one that was very much like this.
There is a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah. This is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
Well, we wanted to do, hey, straps. We're doing one guitar thing. This is our second guitar thing.
Yay!
Yeah, gorgeous. So these all woven out there?
Oh, woven, yes, and we source all of our own leathers, so we don't buy scraps from Nike.
Right.
Nike buys our scraps.
Nice. Oh, I
So
like that.
Everything's premium, everything is done top shelf, just with utmost attention to quality control.
So a beautiful suede strap like this, how much?
$35.
Oh, that's good. That's
yeah.
good.
And
Yeah.
very reasonably priced too.
Fantastic. Well, thank you.
You bet, Warren. Good to
Thanks
see
a
you,
lot.
buddy. Good to
be
see
seen.
you.
So Franklin not only do beautiful straps, they also do capos.
Yes.
Or capos, sorry.
It depends where you are, I suppose.
So tell us about these.
Right, so the glider capos, handmade in Nashville, Tennessee. The big difference here is that our top roller has a composite radius as opposed to a flat pad. And it's designed with a dual spring system as opposed to a single spring clamp style. And as we all know, some of the headaches of capos is that it's constantly stretching your string, and then when you reposition, it contracts back, and then you stretch it again, and then we all wonder why we're out of tune constantly, right? And so this allows you to keep it on the instrument to reposition, which keeps you in tune, and also the proprietary rubber synthetic that we use that we've developed over, honestly, it's 40 years almost. This was invented actually in 1986, but we're a small family business, and still going. Better than ever, actually. But so let me show you real quick. So you take this, and you're going to want to fret the strings with your pick hand, and then you're going to want to take this around and apply. And then once you're on, provided you're properly intonated, like any other issue you might have with a device like this, you can play and just roll up. And it maintains your tuning beautifully.
That's amazing. I love that. So
And then when it's not in
changing a
use,
second.
one of the really cool things about it is that you can just pop it right on the back end of the nut where the strings are taut, and you're still perfectly in tune.
That's incredible.
And actually, it doesn't mark up the back of the neck either, which everyone knows is a nightmare.
Yeah.
It can be.
Annoying.
Especially for the cheaper clamp style.
Especially when
capos.
you got to breathe, love.
And I've actually used this exact guitar to demo this for so many years and not one mark.
That's incredible. How much are they?
They're $34.99 US. Yeah, and you can find them mostly at franklinstrap.com.
Okay.
But we do have distribution all in Asia and in Europe, and
Great.
and we have some distribution within the United States, but mostly it's all in-house.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Charlton. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate the time.
Winner with the best display of the year. Here it is. God bless Celestion. This reminds me of being a kid, being in London, as a kid, visiting my grandparents, getting on the 163. Anybody remember the 163 to Morden? Anyway, get a little teary-eyed. What an amazing, amazing display. Yes. God bless Celestion. So I'm here with Philippe at Ultimate Ears. How are you?
Very good to meet you, thank you.
Good to meet you too. What do you have to show us? I have not seen anything yet. This is what's new and nutritious.
So I'm going to start with what's not new, and then we'll go to what's new.
Okay.
So Ultimate Ears is a company that makes in-ear monitors. So in-ear monitors are the devices that musicians are wearing on
Great.
stage to hear themselves. Our claim of fame is custom-fitted in-ear devices, right? And hopefully we'll be able to scan your ear and maybe tape a little bit on how
That'd be
that
great. I'd
process
love
goes
to
through,
do
right? So like that, you'll see how the journey of a customer is and get a feel for what it looks like.
Great.
However, and this is our little presentation here, we are a company that has been doing in-ear monitors for about 30 years, and we were founded in the back of a tour bus.
Nice.
And Alex Van Halen was the first customer, if you will, of that product, because his sound engineer designed a product specifically for him because he could not hear himself anymore and needed something to help him. So that's how we started. Over the years, we have developed, innovated a lot of different things. We are part of a company called Logitech that acquired Ultimate Ears in 2008, which gave us a lot more resources and ability to innovate and design a lot more. So the thing that we realize is we have a beautiful portfolio of custom-fitted devices, but not everybody is necessarily ready to jump from no in-ear monitors to custom-fitted devices. Kind of like you have a very nice suit today. Would you go from no suits to a custom-fitted suit? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we felt that we should address that. So the first thing that we do always at Logitech and Ultimate Ears, we start with talking to the potential customers that we have to get a feel for why they are not doing it. And so this is what we've heard, all kinds of different pain points, feels over to my ears, I'm not sure I'm ready, and so on and so forth. So we use this to define the different segments that we should address. So the first segment that we have is, imagine a young band that is about to go and perform. We say skip the wedge, go directly to in-ear monitors.
Sure.
The next band, they're already playing in some venues, they know that's not quite optimum. We tell them, ditch the wedge.
Right.
Okay? The third one is the people that have understood that already, they're all going to some kind of monitoring system, but they're using devices that are not necessarily designed for the stage.
Sure.
So we say, upgrade now. So with that, as usual at Logitech, is we don't want to just make another earphone. What can we do to innovate? So our number one thing, we always start with sound. So these little devices that you see here are drivers that are inside those in-ears. So we define what we feel is the best one to use. Then the next step here, this is ears of customers that we have scanned in 3D, and we analyze those. We almost have 200,000 of those ears. We're able to get a good feel for what would be a good ear design for it. And that's when we created this new generic piece. And what we have done here that is very unique, and I'm looking for little ear tips, we have designed, sorry, it's not a good move there. So we've designed a device that will leverage standard ear tips that you can find on Amazon, on the market, anywhere. So basically, UE150,
Yeah.
$199,
Great.
UE250, $299, UE350, $399.
Okay.
What's the big difference between each of those devices? UE150 has one driver,
Right.
UE250 two drivers,
Yeah.
UE350 three drivers.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a step up from left to right, and the idea behind this is as you go over the different products, you're going to get a different sound signature. This is going to be a perfect defined sound signature for a basic sound. As you step up, we're going to amplify the bass, and here we're going to give you a full sound suite. So my suggestion is like when you're doing a tequila tasting or wine tasting, you start with the bottom and you'll go up. The way we've designed these devices, you see the shape, but we're also using our professional cables, so you're going to use them on the ear loop, because we want to make sure they fit and also stay securely in your ear. So this is your left,
So this is $199.
199. UE 150.
Am I doing it right?
Yep,
Oh, I see. Okay.
perfect. Make sure you press a little bit the foam so it inflates inside your ear.
It's pretty darn good. I'm probably talking really loudly now because I don't know how much sound Eric is removing, but it is loud in here. And there's no roof, is it? Looks like we're in a room, but actually it's four walls with no roof. So this is working, and I'm probably talking very loud. Nice. Mid-range forward, nice, yep.
So now that's a step up. One single diaphragm.
Okay.
This one has what we call two balanced armature, two drivers. You saw those pictures before. And now you should start to feel a little step up in the lows.
I felt like those, they definitely had some low lows. They were mid-range forward, maybe lacking a little bit of AT, so like 400. Oh yeah. First of all, these are much louder.
Yeah, a bit more sensitive.
Two drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, much fuller in the low mids as well. Mid-range is still forward. Nice. These sound great for the two.
Better soundstage, right?
Yeah.
More separations on everything. So
then-
next, UE 350.
Yeah, these sound great. I mean, I could definitely, for live, I imagine these would work perfectly fine.
Yes.
They do sound good. They just lack a little bit of low mid, kind of low end fullness. Actually, I thought the low lows were still pretty good on those. This started to fill in some of that, still kept the front, and these just sound pretty darn flat. There's still a little bit of like hype in the high mids, but my gut is that that's not a bad thing when you're on stage surrounded by lots of people being very loud. But definitely not overly bright in the high mids. Yeah, these are great, and these are what, 400?
400, 399, yep. So 199, 299, 399, yeah.
It's great. And like I said, I really enjoy the fact you put them in and the whole of NAMM disappears. Because it is bleeding loud in here. If you let this mic be open for a second, Eric. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the major points that we're trying to convey to
Right.
young musicians is if you do the right thing early in your career,
Sure.
and you are listening to in-ear monitors at the right volume,
Yeah.
you will be preserving your hearing. Right?
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, we've worked with a lot of like legacy artists that have terrible hearing
Terrible, yeah,
damage.
unfortunately, yeah.
I mean, one particular singer, I won't say publicly, he can't hear anything above 2K.
Yeah, which is
That's
really
it.
sad.
Yeah, so everything, he would always say to me, turn the 2K up. I was like, that's the worst frequency to turn up here. He's like, I can't hear anything above it.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah.
So this is our new lineup. So it's
Great, very affordable.
basically
Excellent.
expanding the family where we have a full lineup of custom in-ear monitors and now bringing it down to a universal fit. So
Right.
it's more accessible and hopefully a musician a little bit at the early stage of their career can switch sooner and
Sure.
therefore take care of themselves.
Oh, wedges are terrible. Did a record with Paul Gilbert like 15, 20 years ago, the guitar player for Mr. Big, and a side fill went into feedback. And now he can't hear
hear
out one of
anything,
his ears. So anything that can protect is,
Yeah.
is smart, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
So there we go. So the next step I would love to show you
do you
is
have?
stepping from the universal fit is going to the custom fit.
Okay.
And so we'll take you through our
Okay.
what we call our scanning session. So where you will be able to see your ear, the inside of your ear in 3D being digitized.
Yeah, I should have cleaned my ears out first.
Oh, we have seen a lot.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, so I'm here with Jay from Radial. I'm already losing my voice on day 2. And Eric is going to have to perform some miracles with the audio here because it is blasting music there, which is probably why we're losing our voices.
Probably. Yeah. I'm doing a little bit better than him, but not much.
Give it till tomorrow. Tomorrow you'll be like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's coming. I can feel it.
So what do you got? What is the nuance? What
All
is
right.
this?
So it's a Neumann Select monitor controller. Little story behind it is I've had 5 different monitor controllers in my studio over the years. I've hated every single one of them. Either had a whole bunch of stuff I didn't want to use, or colored the sound so badly that I didn't want to use it either. So I wanted to come up with something that was just what you needed it to be and not color the sound whatsoever. So the Nuance controller was born.
Mono switch, mute switch, dim switch, speaker selections A, B, sub on and off.
Yep.
Source 1, source 2.
Correct.
And presumably, okay, so they're all on 1/4 inch. But then, you know, you've got radial boxes that can go from anything to anything.
That's right.
I suppose being radial, I expect you to be able to roll a tank over the top of it.
Pretty much.
And the tank will get damaged.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty
okay,
much.
good.
That's what we go for.
Yeah.
Little ramp, get tire up onto. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
2 separate headphone amps,
Yeah.
both with source selection on those as well.
Nice.
And then a stereo aux to go out to a headphone amp on a studio floor or something like that, and be able to toggle between sources on that one as well.
Great.
Yeah. 21-step attenuator for the volume control.
Oh, nice. So totally recallable.
Yeah. No capacitors in the signal path.
Nice.
Hutch Hutchison, who was the designer on this one, he was doing all the testing, and most test equipment couldn't measure how low the distortion was.
Nice.
0.00001 distortion. So,
Good job.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well,
Yeah.
look, everybody in the industry knows Radial stands for amazing build quality and just wonderful sonics. So I'm excited you did this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good job.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. How much is it?
$6.99.
$6.99.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Superb. Gunnar, how the devil are you? Are you good?
Yes, thank you. How are you?
Good. Well, except for day 2 and I'm losing my voice.
I feel that.
Yeah. So I'll take these off actually. What do we have here?
We have the brand new HD 490 Pros.
Nice.
The new best-in-line reference studio headphones for Sennheiser professional headphones.
Nice. I have just been told by your compatriot over there that these pads themselves change the frequency response quite dramatically.
That's right.
Why is that?
The ear pads change the way the air ventilates through the headphone.
Okay.
So we are able to change the reference acoustic just slightly enough so that you are able to notice the difference. We target the high-end mixing, producing, mastering engineers with this product. And when we asked them, what do you expect from a high-end professional headphone? They said we want really neutral, really flat sound response. But when you look at the market, many people actually go for slightly warmer acoustics, still on the flatter end of the whole spectrum, so not consumer headphones, but still a little bit warm. And we try to...
I understand that. I feel like I do like, you know, I have some Odyssey headphones which are super, super flat, but I actually like a little bit of extended low end. I want it to be a little exaggerated because I want to check that the low end is okay, and that might sound silly. People are going, well, flat's better. Well, the thing is, if there's a little bit of boost and it gets completely over the top, that's very easy to hear with a headphone with an extended low end. Yeah, actually, I went between the 2 headphones over there. It's remarkable how different they were.
Yeah, I'm always
and I'm just amazed that can be just the pads.
Yeah, sure. I'm always amazed how many people are actually excited by the difference that only the earpads make. So it's the earpads that make a difference, and of course that also leads to the fact that the condition of the earpads also make a difference.
Do you buy the headphones and you get both sets of earpads?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. Okay. Good.
So, also, what's new is the first time ever the earpads are washable. So you can take them off, throw them in a washing machine, and air dry them, should be back fine.
Nice. Eric is wearing a pair of headphones that are no longer made, and we really like the sound of them, but the earpads fell apart. What, within like 3 months? Yeah. And so the fact that they're washable it makes me feel quite confident they're not going to fall apart.
Yes,
it's great. How much are these?
They come in 2 different packaging variants. We offer them as HD 490 Pro. They retail at $399. And then we offer them as HD 490 Pro Plus, so you get an additional longer cable with it and also a case. They retail at $479.
That's still reasonable for something that you're putting into a very pro market.
Yes.
And of course they're open backs, hence this. So you don't get that kind of, you know, ear pick into the side of the head. Let's have a listen to them again. What choice have we got here? Let's go with something with extended low end. This is the indie selection here, I see. I think I might have recorded that song. I did that album, or some of it.
Go this one.
Nice. Yeah, I've noticed actually recently there's this sort of. I'm on one side. Yeah. These are a little bit more. They're not that kind of mid-range Ford 3 to 5K. They've got a little bit of 2 lift on them. At least that's how it feels to me.
Yeah.
Which are kind of like 2K, kind of like a little bit forward. It kind of gives it a bit of a glassiness without being as painful as the 3 to 5K kind of lift where my ears really hate. This is the second pair of headphones we've seen with doing that, except the other ones we saw were $2,600 that did that. So at $400, that's quite nice. Did you, when you're working on the curves for this, are you taking that stuff into account? I mean, when you're voicing them, are you sort of thinking, well, what are people mixing or mastering like? What would be complementary? What's the process when doing that?
We started to take a deep look into the market, what's available for today's professionals.
Yeah.
And we also considered many customer feedback. So what do they like and what do they dislike about many different products? And from there on, we go and develop samples, and we took the samples back to the customers, to the high-end customers, and asked them, okay, what do you think about our samples? Like, should we change something? Are they all right?
Yeah.
And this is the way how we came actually to develop those 2 different pads for the same headphone to target the needs of the high-end professionals.
Do you have a curve on these? I can see.
We communicate the curve for the first time, so they're available for both kind of sets. And we also communicate the measurement equipment that we're using for that, because of course the measurement equipment that you're using impacts the measurement results that you're getting.
I will say we were at Dave Way's house about a year ago. Do you remember this? And there was a guy there who has this big headphones channel, and all he does is talk about like the audiophile headphones. And he gave me a whole bunch of pairs of headphones that were in the ridiculous thousands and thousands of dollars. And these are sounding quite close to that. They're a little bit more, like I said, pushing the mid-mids as opposed to pushing some of the high mids, which I find incredibly fatiguing. So I wonder, you were saying you went to people for feedback. Was that some of the feedback you were getting, that people didn't want to have a pair of incredibly fatiguing headphones, like with real presence lift that they couldn't work on for long periods of time?
Of course, this can be the downside when you have like really flat, really neutral sound response, that in the long term the sound is a little bit fatiguing. And that's actually the benefit if you have something that's a little bit more warm, so you can work for longer hours, even with pretty neutral sound response with them.
These sound great. These sound really good. Let's find something else. Oh, Ryan Hewitt did this. Mountain. Just playing through those, not these. I'm going to go to these, see how much the pads make this. Whoa. Well, I was trying to turn those up over. Got a bit carried away. That is just remarkable how different they sound with the pads.
Yeah, it's actually quite new. So,
were people taking that stuff into account when they were designing headphones before?
I think people were trying more to avoid this topic. Yeah. We try, other companies try to offer different materials and offer different choices in terms of preferences. Yeah. This time it's really about your preferences in terms of acoustics. It's not so much about the material, of course, also part of the story, but that's the new thing we're coming up with.
These are great. I love these. And this is the one with a slightly more extended low end. And just because of the pads. So $3.99. That's pretty fantastic. Is this which cable is this? Is this the regular one?
Yes, so we have a regular cable. Every cable comes with a small coiled area here that reduces structure-borne noise. So when the cable is dropping on your chest or hitting the corner of the table, it reduces the noise that it's caused in the headphones.
Right.
You can connect the cable to either side of the headphone, so it's one-sided and you can choose which side you want to use.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, we have plenty of things. I think left and right identification should be very easily. You have these left and right marks within the ear cups. And also we have the small braille here. So that's just on the corner of the C-clamp, indicating the L. So it's very intuitive to find the right orientation of the product because it's just on one side. So once you understand that, you always know intuitively if you have it in the right way or not.
I may have grabbed those headphones back to front because to me, cables are supposed to be on the left.
Yeah. With
So when
this
I put those on, I
choice.
probably had them round the wrong way because I just intuitively will pick it up and always do that. I mean, I know there's a couple of times that it's on the right, but 99% of the time you have it on the left. Yeah, this is fantastic.
So we offer those in two variants. Pro and Pro Plus. Plus comes with additional accessories, so you get a longer cable with it, and also the hard case. Both variants come with the Dear VR Mix SE, which is a software that allows you to mix in different simulated environments. Like
we reviewed that, I think, about 5 years ago, didn't we, when it first came out, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. We also have a demo room of that here.
Should we go and check it out?
Yeah.
So, Felix, tell us about the software. We have actually reviewed this, maybe, when did it first come out, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, something around this time, absolutely.
So we reviewed the very first version of it, so it looks somewhat familiar, but obviously very updated.
Absolutely, so this is the version that comes with the HD 490, so with every HD 490 you also get the software.
Oh, great.
So this is DVR Mix SE, so it's the Sennheiser edition of DVR Mix. And what this does, it simulates a loudspeaker setup for you.
Right.
So it's really tailored towards people that are just working with headphones and maybe they don't have a speaker setup at home, or maybe they have really bad room acoustics, or maybe they're on the road and they need to check how the mix they're working on or something that they get from a client translate from the headphones to a speaker system. And that's where the software comes into play.
Well, can you, I'll grab these ones.
Yes, please.
Can you take me through it?
Absolutely.
Are you able to get in, Eric, close and show it?
So I'll put on a song where I think it's really clearly hearable what's going on. Let me quickly search for that one.
Yeah,
so that one.
Too,
So you can hear there's really a lot of ping pong effect going on from left to right. And with headphones, you hear that like it's going through your head somehow, because the headphone is just on your head. And it's just normal. And a lot of people listen like that, and it's totally fine. Absolutely, no worries about that. And now if you engage the processing, you should hear it like it's actually in front of you.
Right, yeah.
Rather than just on your head. And it's really like the simulation of the loudspeaker setup in a mixing environment. To make sure that this translates well. So you have a panning movement, maybe that is a bit extreme. That goes well on speaker system for sure. But on headphone it can get a bit weird sometimes. Or maybe you have the other way around. You're just monitoring on loudspeakers and doing too much stereo width on it, and then it falls apart on headphones again. So it's really about cross-referencing in between to make sure it translates well and you're on the safe side with that.
That's interesting. I wonder if I mixed on this and then went backwards from it, or you're using this more to check it.
I would use it more to check it.
You would use it more for checking?
I mean, like, the HD 490 is really made for mixing and really to make sure you can really clearly audibly hear everything and control everything in between. And this is really to check against, to have a cross-reference in between.
No, that's
so that's really the goal. And on top of that, we also have different scenes that you can choose from. So we have some mixed scenes, some mixing rooms, as well as analytic drive without any room influence. And then we have some check scenes like a car, a club, or a stadium, to really make sure you can just quickly reference it. So I'll maybe put on the club.
Let's flip through a few.
And maybe increase it a little bit. And you should audibly hear that there's some heavy reflections coming from the wall of this club. And it's really helpful if you're, for example, producing something like really hard, fast-paced techno, and then in a club you have these really heavy reflections coming back.
That's a good idea.
And it can really easily fall apart.
Yeah.
And if you're just aware of that effect, you can adjust it a little bit so it comes through, even if you have these reflections
That's smart.
from the
I
wall.
never heard anybody think about and talk about it like that. That's very smart. It's almost like you're German. I like this. Oh.
A kitchen check, yeah?
It's quite dramatic. It's quite dramatic because on that, which is like the analytic dry, I was expecting it to be still quite close to this. But you know, like going back to your first point, you know, when we're listening on headphones, exactly, if you put something 100%, we're completely forgetting that you're not hearing any reflection, any crossover whatsoever.
Absolutely.
And sometimes that can be an amazing effect, but as you're saying, sometimes it can be really disconcerting.
Yeah, and you just need to be aware of that. I mean, it's a decision you need to make in the process, and if you're able to cross-reference in between, you can do that with confidence then.
I've found what I do when I'm mixing really extreme left and right stuff is I always take a corresponding reverb and put it in the opposite side, and it seems to connect things together.
Yeah, absolutely. It glues a little bit together, then you don't have this kind of weird feeling that it's just from one side.
Yeah, so even if it's just like a super heavy guitar, I'll put a super heavy guitar on this side and then its reverb on the other. And then if it's doubled, I'll put the other super heavy over here and its reverb there. And it still sounds wide, but it also, like you said, it connects in the middle when you're wearing headphones.
Absolutely.
Which is so many people now.
Yeah.
Probably more like earbuds, obviously, but
For sure.
This is much nicer layout than the original. Wasn't the original like a light green or something? I can't remember.
No, it was more like a grayish one. The old ones. Updated it, and now it matches to Sennheiser color style as well. So.
Yeah, I think to be honest, the original was a little bit confusing. This is much better laid out. Yeah.
Glad to hear that.
And it comes free with the headphones.
Yeah, absolutely. With every headphone, you get a license for that. It's available in AU, AX, VST3, so for every major digital audio workstation that works.
It's interesting because we tried out some other headphones here. We don't need to talk about what they are, the competitor, but they're fantastic, but they're $2,600. And they're really nice. But the characteristics that you're both adopting are very similar, which is this kind of like mid-range forward, but not the high mid forward, the more mid forward, the more 1, 2, less of that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is so fatiguing everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was asking Gunnar about that. Did you find that you had people who were testing this out requesting to have those frequencies pushed a bit more forward and not have the higher stuff?
So I wasn't involved in the headphone itself, but I definitely agree that this is a good choice to have for the profile of the headphone, because that's still like extremely heavily fatiguing, and after some time you just don't hear anything at all. So
and when you're mixing rock and you've got overheads going and you've got guitars and sloshiness, it could just end up as a big painful wash of 3 to 5, 6, 7K of stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah, let's just to test that out. What we got? Seven Nation Army is actually quite trashy.
Yeah, that's true.
That might be a good one. Yeah, cymbals going crazy. Yeah, the hi-hat and the cymbals are mixed really loud. And that guitar, it's nice. Yeah, it's great. So what I hear there in quite good detail is, there's some kind of compression going on where there's an explosion on the hat. It goes whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Absolutely.
It's probably the snare compression, the hi-hat bleed exploding.
Yeah, maybe it's like bass compression going on there, and then
But I like it because I can hear the fizziness on the top of the and I hear the separation between the two.
Absolutely.
Because it's not hyped in that area, so it's just a big wash.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it also has a lot to do with like the volume that you're listening to, how sensitive you are in which range. So that really depends on the loudness as well.
Yeah.
And that's really something we wanted to make sure that just fits well.
Excellent. Well, thank you ever so much.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure.
So we've reviewed this. We love it. It's absolutely superb. Obviously, we remember, emerging technologies, and they're always absolutely superb sounding. So what are you saying about immersive? How have you done it for a start?
Well, with merging technologies, we had in the Anubis monitoring controller mission, multi-channel. So we worked to migrate this into the MT48.
Okay.
So today, the MT48 can be used, as you covered, as a low latency mixer to record music for creative content.
Yep.
And users, in February, we will deploy a new firmware and announce how to redeem the monitoring mission key. And we recommend to redeem your key before 1st of July, 2024.
Okay.
So people will suddenly, in the home screen, have two missions. So creative content, you record like you did, and once you go, you want to do a mix in Atmos. You press this button, you enter the key, and now you enter, and you change completely the mission. You have sources, so those are the DAW, stereo output DAW. This is the 714, let's say. You can customize it. You can do 916 with this. You can do, of course, if you don't have enough IOs here, you can expand with the ADAT here.
I'm forgetting how many.
ADAT here.
Okay.
We have the 4 here.
Okay.
And with the 8 over ADAT that you would have a line out, let's say on ADAT, you suddenly can do 714.
Okay, okay.
Here. And you can do even more if you go AES67 and all these things, because we have 256 IOs on this unit that can be
Neumann
redistributed.
bringing out their own units to do this, or you're saying?
Well, there's an integration already with the AES67 monitors of Neumann also.
Okay.
So there's different way to expand the IOs for the outputs.
Yeah.
So ADAT, AES67, or merging Happy, and those units can give you more outputs IOs. So basically you have sources. So you could have sources here, so you can some different sources you want to listen to. So this is what I'm listening to, my DAW 714. I have my metering page. I see what all my inputs, all my outputs monitors. And then I have my speaker set page. So this is my 714 here.
Yep.
I can solo the front row if I'm working on the panning on the front row of my layout. I can also go to the top layers, the elevation here, and on my point.
And this can also presumably also be accessed by the app itself inside.
Exactly.
Okay.
You can have this on an iPad also. Yeah. You can have it here as well. And here you all.
I mean, this is a big. Don't get me wrong. This is a big enough screen to do this. I've seen some units that are about this big. Like remember the DX7 with the LCD screen that was like impossible to use. This doesn't have that, but it is also nice to have it on your screen.
It's totally nice to have it, and it's nice to have the physical level here. So here you can recall the reference of your studio. You have a DIMM. You have a down mix also, so you can down mix your 714 to stereo, and we have multiple down mix layouts here available. And when you go in the settings of this, you can also calibrate your entire room, because we have 24 bands of EQ per speakers. There's 336 bands of EQ available for monitoring in this unit. So I go to my layout here, and I can. This is my left. I can EQ. Let's say the left, this speaker here.
Yeah.
So I will have up to 24 bands of EQ here. I can also time align my room, because there's the delay available here. So I have also the delay of each speaker set. Basically calibrate the immersive room, have it sounding as best as possible. And further down here, we have all the patching, high pass, all the bass sub and bass management built in here.
Wow.
So you can control the bass management here. So immediately you can create music with it, or you can decide to do immersive work. So we sell it. It's a dream for some, Maybe they don't go immersive tomorrow, but you have the unit to do that now.
Sure.
And it's a proven mission, because it's been running before. There's big studios running it, and the monitoring mission is what's running in our immersive demo room now.
The studio that we brought this to, because we were in England when we did the demo, we brought it in there. I don't know what they had. they had 16 channels of something else. And we came back like a month later and they hadn't unwired it. They'd been tracking everything using it.
You see. So, coming in February, redeem the key, you're immersive with this unit.
That's fantastic. I love all the EQ possibilities there. And that's more bands than other people are offering. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, thank you.
Warren, pleasure.
Ricardo, wonderful.
My interpretation of recording is that it's kind of the early stages of mixing. I honestly look at it that way. So I mix and match preamps. I don't just patch anything in anything. It's kind of predetermined that, hey, this element is a lead element, right? This is a kick drum, this is a snare drum, it's a bass guitar, it's a lead vocal. It's supposed to be important, right? It's going to be something that's loud. It's a very foundational piece of the mix. So I'm going to record with that in mind. So something like a Neve circuit. You have the 1290, right? Right there. Something that's transformer based, that's not just transformer based, but a heavy transformer, something that adds some harmonic grit and some size. Everybody here probably got to use a Neve circuit of some type, either a clone or an original. They add weight, right? Everything that goes through them sounds more important on the other side. So use those to make things sound more important. And then you can go down the line from there. There's a lot of preamps, like stuff that's based on API circuits, like a 312, things like that are still transformer based, so they still sound important. They have a way of sounding important. They have a way of a certain amount of harmonic grit that makes them cut through in the mid-range, but nonetheless they're lean. Have you ever noticed that? Some circuits, it's just like, it sounds great, but it doesn't sound as big. That's awesome, right? So, because maybe we're stacking up 6 layers of guitars, 3 keyboards, who knows what else, right? So we want those things to kind of hold hands and not take up so much room. Well, you have circuits that naturally do that before we ever touch a fader, before we ever put a plug-in on it. So is everyone aware of our mix contest we have going on right now on Produce Like a Pro? So we have, yes? Okay, so we have a mix contest going on, and we're getting tons of comments about the sound of the tracks. It's like, gosh, I just put up the faders and they sound so amazing. But here's the thing. I EQ'd the tom-toms, the kick drum, and the snare drum. That's it. Honestly, that's it. So the rest of what you're hearing on that is, great musicianship, number one, but is preamp choices and microphone choices and placement. So go ahead and, you know what I'm saying? So it's making my job as a mixer, or if I'm only hired to record it and you're hired to mix it, it's making your job. You pull up the faders and it's like, okay, I have a great place to start from because the important elements sound important already. And everything that is holding hands, or should hold hands in the background, isn't fighting for space. It's just tuck the fader down a little bit and there you go. So I think I really want to capture it properly on the right end to make my job on the back end easier, if that makes sense. Warren, you want to talk on recording a little?
Yeah, I mean, ditto. No, I come from that world of, you put your faders up and it sounds like the record. And most of the records that everybody agrees are the greatest albums of all time are pretty much that. When, somebody was asking me or talking about the Michael Beinhorn interview I did about maybe 3 years ago when we talked about Soundgarden, Black Hole Sun. He put the drums on a drum riser and then had subs underneath, big 18-inch subs underneath, and he fed a little bit of the kit back through the subs and then mic'd the room. And the drums just had more low end. So just when you hit a tom, it was just boom. The room sounded fantastic. So when you come to mix, you're like, wow, these drums sound huge. Yeah. So rather than going, I'll wait until I come to mix and I'll just find a subharmonic synthesizer and try and get some more low end on my toms or my kick or whatever. It was all there on fader. Same thing with bass. He stuck an 8x10 and I think a 215 in a cupboard and shut the door and blasted a schnizzle out of it and then mic'd that. And his bass amp has got more low end than you could ever do. The point is, it's like taking all that time and effort. And I remember years ago interviewing Joe Carrell, and he said to me, when he started in the late 70s, especially doing things like Zappa records, like he did, Frank Zappa records, there would be 5 different engineers on the project. And you wanted the next guy to open up your session, put it up on the console, faders up, and be like, whoa!
Yeah.
Who did these drums? These sound amazing.
Yeah.
Not like, what plugins do I need to make this sound good? It's just recorded really, really well. I think the reality is like a big part of our job is like, yes, use a great piece of equipment, but also most importantly, don't screw it up. Most of the guys that we like didn't do that much. They put the mic in the right place, especially Al Schmidt, for instance. The mic in the right place, a nice mic, going through a nice mic pre with maybe a little bit of compression, hitting tape, and that was the sound. There was more time and energy put into the performance and not messing it up.
You know, another thing, because I know you and I have talked about this multiple times, when it comes to the recording, we're still on recording, is, okay, so we've chosen our preamp, right? How hard are we hitting that preamp? That really has a big effect on where things find themselves in a mix.
If I don't hit it hard, I don't. I might as well just use the interface preamps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like if I'm not getting character from it, why am I bothering to buy it in the first place?
Is there any specific questions about recording before we go to mixing?
Yeah, let's take some questions. Lyric, how are you?
Great, how are you? Quick question for you. When you're receiving something from, let's say, a session player, what I choose, I give the line out to you, preamp if you need. Is there something you would need to specifically receive when getting tracks from a guitarist in a recording kind of session, if they're doing it at home, or would you always prefer them to come and record with you?
I grew up at a time where it was all about committing. And people are completely terrified of that. But I learned that, as a musician, making records, a good producer and a good engineer would let me use my own equipment. I had my 1 or 2 amps, maybe it was stereo, maybe it was mono. I had these different pedals, I had this guitar for this song, that pickup that has to be for this, all these different things that I figured out. And the best engineers and producers let me do my thing until it could be better. 90% of the time, they just captured it really great. I'm thinking of engineers that I have asked about guitar tones. What do you do? They always tell me, do everything at the amp. You reach for the EQ because you've got a problem you have to fix. Or everything should be done at source. So I grew up, to reiterate, I grew up at a time where I trusted the artist. You trusted the artist, and you didn't insert your own ego and opinion in there unless it didn't work. Otherwise, it was our job, because bands you remember when rock bands used to sound different from each other? You remember those days? Anybody remember that? Put on a modern rock record now, it's the same freaking kick drum sample. Well, it used to be our job as producers and engineers to find artists we wanted to work with, or they found us, capture something, make it unique. Rock records, you used to hear 5 seconds of a drummer and go, that's Keith Moon.
From my opinion, I'm always going to assume that they're a better guitar player than me. Because you know what, they are. That's why they're being hired. But I love hearing you or him, their take on what the song is supposed to be like. And I will I ever reamp? Absolutely. We all have. We all sometimes need to. But my preference is not to. I want to get a great guitar tone at the amp. Whether you're recording it yourself or you're in the studio. And even when I'm in the producer's chair, I don't like to tell people very often what to do, because you're in the band. You guys know your sound. If I'm trying as a producer, or he's trying as a producer to mold every record into my vision of what you should sound like, I'm probably not doing my job. It's supposed to be you guys, and then we're just there to make it 10% better, or settle some disputes.
Yeah, if you've watched the channel, you've heard me say this quote 1,000 times, but my good friend Dave Jordan said to me, sometimes you have to rewrite the song, change the arrangement completely, change the key, change the tempo, change the instrumentation, and other times you just got to get out of the way of the artist and help them make a great recording. And that's the skill. If you've got one way of working, you're in the wrong business. You've got to be able to know all of those things. Sometimes you're just capturing something, and sometimes you're getting in there and reworking it from scratch. And then, of course, there's bits in the middle. Another one he always used to say that I love, he went up to the SSL and he turned the knob like this, and he goes, anyone can do this. It's just knowing where to stop.
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
I got the opportunity to work with David Foster on a Diane Warren track. So it's pretty awesome, you know. These two like giants, biggest songwriter, biggest producer. And it was a pleasure. And he said to me, he goes, I have never recorded more than 10 vocals on a song in my life. He's like, if you're not getting it after 10, you don't know what you're doing. Or the singer is just not giving it to you that day if their voice is blown. But most importantly, from a producer perspective, you need to be able to say, I love this, or I don't like this. Let's redo this, focus in on something. If you're just working a singer for the sake of it, you're not doing your job. And then I've been as an engineer, I'm sure you have as well, where you're sitting there with this really green producer who's just like going, yeah, it's cool, let's do it again.
Yeah.
And the singer's like completely lost, like, where's the direction?
That's good. That's
Great question.
Good question. Okay, one of the keys, there's two big keys to us doing what we do, right? Number one is passion. Like everybody that's here, you're here because you're fanatical about this stuff, right? I mean, you see, who in traffic sees the car in front of you and it has 1176 or something on the license plate, you're like, ooh! I mean, right? I mean, all of us, that's who we are at our core. We dream about this stuff. But so in order to be able to make that happen, though, we have to be able to make a living, right? In order to be consumed with this stuff 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 12, 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, whatever the case may be, that means you have to be making a living because we have to eat. So the key to making a living is being employable, right? Being sought after. In my own career, I can tell you without a doubt, one of my keys to the fact that I've been doing this since the 90s, full-time, making my living, is that I'm extremely versatile. Anybody, I don't know how many of you follow me or don't, but I make my living literally doing everything from Walt Disney Orchestra to hard rock and everything in between. Shiny modern pop, blues, vintage jazz, I mean, all that stuff. So making a living in this nowadays for a lot of us means that. There's going to be some of you that can make your living being just a rock guy, just a hip hop guy, whatever. And that's fantastic. Hopefully that's what you love. But a lot of us in today's market will make our living and we can pay our bills and not have to work at Lowe's or drive Uber because we're extremely versatile. So whatever job opportunity comes up, we say yes, and we can nail it, and they employ us again. So that goes back, how does that tie into his question? You have to know 1960s rock, 1960s jazz, 1990s pop, R&B. Remember the Mariah Carey thing, the Whitney Houston thing? All the way up to the modern Stephen Slate sample laid into heavy kick. We have to be aware of all that.
Totally. But it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing here because you need a large skill set.
Yeah.
Because there are a few genres where you could probably be dominant in, but you're talking about 6 people. So maybe you'll get into the 6 people that do death metal, or the 6 people, or like in country, the one person, Dan Huff, that does country. You know what I mean? It's like, it's tough. I'm exactly the same as you. I always call myself a jobbing engineer or a jobbing producer. Whatever came in through the door. And as I had some success and some chart stuff, I could be selective to a certain extent. But I rarely said no unless it was dreadful. Because I learned more from artists that needed my help than I did from somebody that was absolutely amazing. Right. So by the time I came to make an Aerosmith record, when I made an Aerosmith record, Stephen would sing for an hour and a half, and at the end of the hour and a half, it would be comped. Because he would sing the verse, and he'd go, yeah, second line, I did this thing, can I punch in there? Blah, blah, blah. Keep playing, stop. He'd be like this, stop. Can I just redo that word, punch in? And so an hour and a half of tracking, you get to the end of it, he's comped the vocal, and it's done. Then, of course, with the independent artists that I'd worked on, it was doing the 10 or the 20 takes, because I'm not David Foster at that point, or ever will be. And doing all that stuff, and then comping it, and maybe tuning a few things, then coming back the next day, and then re-recording into the comp, because you couldn't get this, you couldn't get that. The point is, like, doing all of that stuff meant that when I'm in a room with Stephen, he would say, I need to do the second line, and as he's saying it, I'm queued up, because I heard it too.
Yeah.
And I heard it because I worked with not as good singers that tune my ear into what beat has to be done. So you need those experiences. I mean, that's why I think we get on, because we're exactly the same way. I don't have a genre. Like, I got more well known because of piano bands. that I wanted to be Brian May in Queen, so I'm a rock guy. And then of course, you know, I kind of like weird indie pop from the late 70s, early 80s. I love Joy Division, I love New Order. The point is like, I don't really have a genre. I like all kinds of music. And I grew up on classical music and jazz. So,
yeah, but that's
it's all good.
No, it is. It's wonderful. But I hope that answers your question, because like I think a lot of us we have a favorite, right? Who in here has a favorite snare drum sound? Probably most of us, right? But there's something we hear on the radio, it's like, oh man, you know, that's connecting. But maybe that's only right for 5% of the songs that we would work on. We don't force that into everything that we do, or we're gonna get fired. Right, you know what I'm saying? So what he's saying, the was it B.B. King you said? That's some old blues artist.
Oh, it's a blues artist, I don't know.
It sounds like a modern guy, a more modern rock guy or whatever, had his hands on it. And you know,
see, now he said B.B. King, I'm thinking like SSL, Super Scoops, Super EQ, lots of Lexicon reverb.
Right.
Now I know what you mean.
Yeah. But so it was a guy, to me, what I'm hearing in my mind is a guy that had a predetermined thing. This is what I do. This is my favorite sound. It doesn't matter what comes through the door.
It's got to sound modern.
Whatever comes through the door.
Using the PCM 90.
Exactly.
We need that.
I'm conforming this song to me. But really, the reason that I make my living in this business, I mean, I know this without a doubt, it has nothing to do with, it's all to do with the end result of that specific song and what it's supposed to be. If I conformed it to what my preference on any given thing, then I would probably not be here speaking to you right now, because I'd be working at Lowe's somewhere. I mean, I'm just telling the truth. The reason I get hired to do what I do is because they know I'm going to give them the results that they want. I have to be chasing their dream, right? I mean, you know, are there times where you got hired or I get hired or any other engineer to do our thing and that's why we're hired? Absolutely. You know, but a whole lot of times are we hired to do what they want? Not what we want, but what they want. Absolutely. So we better be able to do it, or that money, that check is not ours, it's somebody else's.
But then they hire you for that thing, and then you have to remind them that they're not that band.
Right.
Yeah, I really want that piano sound you got. It's like, okay, but you don't have your piano in your music. You want that drum sound, well, you know, maybe you should, you know, get a different drummer. I had a guy a couple of years ago send me like a modern rock song, modern metal song, like super clicky, and I just said, there's guys that do this in their sleep. It's not what I do. I said, I like rock. I want to hear the room mics.
Yeah.
I want more space in it. I'm not going to do clickety drums that are super dry with massive guitars that are all fighting each other. It's just not my thing. I could do it, but I don't really want to do it, and I think that there's guys that are better. He's like, no, I don't want that. I want what you do want. So of course I did what I do. I poured up the room mics, I made everything a bit more open, got some depth going, and then he said, it's not quite what I'm looking for. I was like, well, what are you looking for? And of course he sent me back a reference of like Brick Wall Limited, and it was just like, what did we talk about?
Anybody else have another question?
So I'm curious what your thoughts are on using multiple preamps, different types of preamps, as opposed to one console. For just cohesiveness, using the console versus preamps.
I'll do this really quickly because I'm sure Joe's got lots of great answers. The best drum sound I think I ever got, never got released unfortunately. It was with an artist that label didn't put out the album, but we did it at Conway, and they had the Montserrat console that was remote controlled with the 1081 pre's in the wall. So what happened is the cable lengths were like, I don't know, 6 to 10 feet XLR, and then it ran line. And I have never recorded drums as good as that. And it was Blair Sinter, God bless him, one of the greatest drummers around. Blair, if you're here, I love you. But it wasn't so much the fact that it was a great drummer with a great drum kit in a great room. It was the fact that everything was so immediate because the cable lengths were so short. I've never had a drum kit sound that deep. Then the other thing, immediately when you said that, because I was thinking about it earlier, was I think it's Dark Side of the Moon, where they came and they did some overdubs in the US at a later point. And they do some of the acoustics sound a little bit more forward. And I was young and naive, and I was like, I can tell there's a difference here. And I asked my friend Dave Jordan, I was like, what's going on? He's like, well, you can tell that most of this was recorded on a Neve, And you can tell that when they did those acoustic guitar overdubs, they were done on an API because transients are faster. Because, you know, famously when they came to mix that record, they did almost nothing. Like tiny bits of EQ, all fade arrives. Everybody knows the story of, you know, all of them like doing the moves, and it took like 2 days to do a mix because they're like, you forgot to mute that, you forgot to pan that, you forgot to do this. So the characteristics of all the pre's were there, and that's a thing. You know, Neves have that beautiful low mid fullness. They have great saturation when you start pushing them in the mids and stuff, and they have a beautiful smooth high end. But APIs have a really immediate kind of transient-y stuff. You know, Andy Johns famously only liked tracking on APIs. He said the drums sounded phenomenal on them. He loved the immediacy of it. So that's a great you know, that's the answer for me, is like, if you're in that perfect world and you have access to all of those different styles of pre's, you can choose. I want this to sound like this. I want this to sound like that, and it does so much of the work for you.
Probably the same story as you. Been in a whole lot of different studios, meaning, you know, I've cut records on APIs, Neves, SSL, you name it. When I say my favorite is a blend, I mean I mean that. You know, I really do like mixing and matching. However, you can also, well, first of all, most rooms that are based on a Neve or based on an SSL, they still have a few other channels. So you can still select some of the most important elements. You know, like if you want that fast mid-forward API thing on electric guitars, but it's a Neve console, but they probably still have 2 or 4 or something channels of APIs, so you can select what goes through there. So you can still have a little bit of the both worlds. But also a trick that and I'm sure you've employed it many, many times, if you are kind of limited to a console, is how hard you're hitting the channel. Because if we're cutting on a console, usually that means we have a 2-take fader too, or you know what I'm saying? So we can overly saturate or audibly saturate certain things, and then cut more unity, more in the sweet spot, you know, or the supposed sweet spot, you know, of analog 0, and we still have that short fader to get the level of the tape that we want that's cleaner. You know, a lot of them are like a VCA or if there's something like that. So even with just one console, you do still have some control over how the tracks meld by how hard you're hitting the circuit. Assuming it's a transformer-based console. If it's a SSL, for example, that's chip-based, that's different. But you know,
I keep thinking about this because I obviously I had a 4000 for several years SSL, and I keep thinking of my favorite records ever made, and lots of them are made on Neves and APIs and Helioses and everything we see around here, using all of these different beautiful pieces of equipment. But then gun to my head, if I think about like the 78 to 83, 84, 85 period of records that still sound like the greatest records ever made, actually most of them were not only mixed on, but also recorded on an SSL 4000. All of the Stevie Lee White, Hugh Padgham stuff, So, you know, all of the first 4, Melt, all of those Peter Gabriel records, XTC, Townhouse, all that was all done on SSL, tracked on an SSL.
I remember, this is just a fun story for whatever reason. I was cutting at Sound Kitchen in Nashville on a 4000E.
Chris is going to start.
It was a 4000G that had some
port coming out next year on Audioscape.
It was a 4000G console with EQs mostly, right? I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about. But I was talking to the assistant. How many of you have ever had a young assistant at a tracking room that really thinks they know everything? Right, you know, and they're a little too opinionated and try to force what they want on you when you're the one hired to track the record. He told me, he was like, "Oh, okay, I know you're not going to want to, you know, use the preamps on the console. So, you know, what do you want?" I was like, "Well, I mean, like, why do you think that I don't want to use the preamps on the console?" He's like, "Well, you know, it's an SSL." I made that decision at that moment to track everything. Just like literally because it's like,
what's the most famous drum sound in the world? There's 2 songs, yeah? Number 1 is When the Levee Breaks. What's the other one? In the Air Tonight.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 most famous. A person walking down the street probably knows In the Air Tonight more than anything else. That was recorded, mixed, everything on an SSL.
Well, I cut that just because he, was like, well, you can't, you can't cut an album on an SSL. I was like, oh, well, let's just do this. Let's just put everything on the SSL. I use not one piece of outboard except a couple compressors. And, I love that record. I still today love this record. And yeah, I mean, I think all of it has its place. When you get to gear of that level, man, I mean, we're splitting hairs when we talk about, sometimes, we're the only ones that's going to hear it, but we still have to be happy at the end of the day, But anyway, just a fun SSL story.
Sorry, I got one more. It's more so moving away from some of those super hi-fi pro audio. When you are mixing in unideal environments, do you have any tips or techniques that you can recommend to kind of turn out better results before you get yourself into that proper environment, or you're going to be going after that final mix?
Did you say mixing in the DAW or out?
Out of the DAW in unideal environments.
Okay, in an ideal environment, mixing out.
Unideal.
Unideal environments.
Unideal. Are you talking about the room, the sonics of the room? Man, that's tough.
Good, you can do it.
Yeah, that is okay. So luckily, all right. So luckily, I've never liked headphones. Anybody knows I'm a speaker guy, but what you're saying is you're in a room that doesn't have good. You don't know the speakers, or they're junk, or the acoustics are bad. Okay, all that to say, and I know you have some opinions on this. In the last couple years, even though I never liked headphones, in the last couple of years, there's been some models come out where I'm like, oh, now I need to reevaluate my hatred of headphones, because I don't hate headphones anymore. There are some really, really good sounding headphones out there now. I have the Neumann NDH30s, I think they're called. That was the first pair that I put on, and I was like, these sound like speakers. Like, I could actually work on them, and do, when I have to try, they're in my hotel room right now with my laptop. We listened to, what was those Austrian audios the other day that we listened to?
They are amazing.
They're really expensive, but the Sony MDR MV1s, $400. $400. It's a whole different world in headphones now. Does that answer your question at all? Because if I don't know, if the room is bad and I don't know the speakers, I would rather, even though I would prefer speakers, I'm going to resort to headphones if I have to, that I know are accurate. And it's getting easier to find affordable, really sonically good headphones. I don't know, you've got some Odysseys maybe?
Yeah, the Odysseys are great because they are truly quite flat. Now everybody can argue one person's flat to another. Stephen Slate obviously has the VSX headphones, and he's obsessed with it. He is obsessed with figuring out how everybody hears things differently. Like, for instance, I have no problem saying this. I can't stand the sound of most Adams headphones. Adams speakers. They don't work for me because they have like a low mid bump that I just find really ugly, and I end up overcompensating for it and pulling it out. That probably tells you that the way I hear is I hear a little excessive low mids, because there's plenty of people in this world that don't hear them like that.
And my favorite speakers are my Adam S series.
So I must hear, through the shape of my pinna, my ear, and the way I hear it, I hear probably an extra dB or two of low mids than he does, in a different way. None of us hear things the same. So there's a lot of stuff to take into account. One person's flat is another one. Oh, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Most of the improvement in equipment is what we're doing now, where we're sitting. What we're getting now is into the world of high-level stuff coming down in price and being more affordable and more accessible to people. That is 99% of what is getting better for us. So it's very rare I see something that's expensive that I actually go, oh my God, this is actually worth it. But this is why we're here, because we're in a world of affordable gear.
Case in point, at the booth that we're at, I have a bunch of it, you have a bunch of it. I will say, I have the Decomp, an amazing drum compressor. I have two of the LA3A style, the V3As. I have two of those for running my guitar bus into, like a stereo thing. I have Blue Stripe. I have your Revision F, that's the black stripe. I have just recently, I got their LA2A. about 2 months ago, and it's really good, guys. And it's, I think, is it 1,100 in the U.S., 1,200? I mean, gosh, because you can still buy a reissue.
I have an 80s one that is like, version number 72 or whatever. Those are going for like 12 grand.
It's insane.
It makes no sense. Component-wise, it's LA2A is a freaking light bulb. It's a light bulb.
This one
I'm
is.
not paying $12,000 for a light bulb.
One of my co-workers' assistants is running around here, and she's cutting a lot of vocals now, way more vocals than I do. And I had her an LA2A from a different LA2A in the room for her to cut her vocals with. And I just recently bought that one, and it's like, here, start using this one, because I used it the other day and really, really love it. So because I mix a lot of the records that she records vocals on, so I want it to be great, right? And she's almost like mad at me for not getting it sooner. She's like, oh my gosh. Like, I was, the other day I was actually getting 7 or 8 dB of compression and didn't even know it. I looked over at the meter and I was scared. Like, oh my, but you know what? It sounds great, And there's a lot of LA2A style compressors you cannot do that to. Let's just face it, remakes and things. So I'm a big fan of Audioscape. I just thought I'd fit that in there.
We do, yeah. Thanks ever so much for having us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Don't leave without an Audioscape product.